Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel and welcome of course back to the desk corner. I'm very hot and cold at the same time right now because I had too much coffee. Anyways, today's video is going to be a bit different because we're going to be trying something new. These are alcohol-based markers and they are the Blick Studio alcohol-based markers. They look kind of like Copics when you open them. They've got the brush nib and then they also have the chisel tip as well, if you can see that. If I'm being honest, I may not have used these markers once in the entire 2020, which is really sad, and I kind of realized how long it's been since I've used alcohol-based markers. So that's what we're going to be doing in today's video. So in one of my older videos I was using my markers and someone had commented a paper recommendation for use with alcohol-based markers. And I went ahead and bought that paper online and I haven't opened it yet or tried it. Let me show you guys. Here it is. It's still in its package. I haven't opened it yet. I think I'm going to move to the desk view so that we can look at this a little bit more closely. This is a much better view of it right now. So it is the Spectrum Noir Ultra Smooth Premium White Cardstock. And it says recommended for use with Spectrum Noir and all other alcohol-based markers. So it does also say it's perfect for digital printing of images too, and I wonder if this is common paper used for printing. Probably. Let's go ahead and open it up and see what the paper is like. Here's the paper. So of course it does feel like cardstock because it is cardstock. It's really smooth and it is thicker of course than a lot of papers, but not extremely thick either. I think what I'm going to do is cut off a bit from the bottom of this and swatch my markers a bit. And then I'm going to actually transfer a sketch onto the rest of the paper and try out a piece. But first I definitely want to swatch some colors to see how this paper handles that. So actually that went extremely poorly, but I think it's also because the two colors were too far apart. And that's the cool thing about Copics is they have a million different color options, so you can buy colors that are really close together. But these two colors are actually a bit too much contrast, I think, between the darker and the lighter color. So let me try that again with two colors that are closer and see what happens. We're gonna try Cool Gray 50%, 60%, and 70%. Okay, this blend went a lot smoother since the colors were so close. So let's see on the back. And it doesn't bleed through overly, like too much. Even though I put a lot of layers down, it did bleed through a bit, but I'm guessing that's how any paper would react. Now paper is actually really important for alcohol-based markers because if you don't have a smooth enough paper, when you go to lay down the marker, it kind of just starts bleeding in different directions, and sometimes it gets caught in the tooth of the paper if the paper has too much tooth, and it just creates a look that you don't really want. So it's really important to have a really ultra smooth paper similar to this one when you're using alcohol-based markers. Okay, I'm gonna go transfer a sketch onto this paper and then we can try and figure this out. Here's the sketch. It's a cup of hot cocoa, the little chocolate chips over here. But you might know that I really dislike drawing anything symmetrical or objects like this that have circles and other things, so this was a bit painful for me to sketch. And I have to fix this little part at the bottom here that's blocked in the reference photo because it just doesn't look right. Besides that though, I think we have a good sketch out and I'm ready to experiment with the markers. And really I'm going to pray that things don't go out of the lines when I start applying markers because that's one of the problems I often have. I may have oversaturated the paper just a bit with this one because I was really trying to get a smooth blend, so I was adding a lot of layers onto this. I'm probably going to do an additional layer after the fact and really try to smooth it out as much as I can, but I think that this paper really holds up well as far as layers go. Working on the handle made me a little bit nervous, I'll admit. I really didn't want to go outside of the lines or mess anything up, but I think I did a pretty good job with this part and made just a couple of mistakes. But this was pretty nerve-wracking for me. One thing that's really tough with markers is creating a fade out into white or doing a subtle shadow for me. That's a little bit tricky, and that's kind of what I was attempting to do here and still giving the handle structure. The surprising thing is how much I actually enjoyed creating this drawing. That's not my usual choice of subject, and also I don't like drawing anything structural, symmetrical, or objects that are circular or round or anything. It's not really my thing. I get really nervous, and for this piece, even though I was nervous at some points, I actually really enjoyed creating this cup of hot chocolate. I don't know, maybe I'll do a series like this or something. Speaking of things that make me nervous, this was a part out of the entire drawing that really made me nervous, because I knew that if I went outside the lines, I could easily mess this up. It's not like the tips on the brush tip of the marker is that small either, so you have to be extremely careful with these types of markers when you're working on detail. Also, I didn't decide to fine line this. I wanted to give it more of a realistic look, which just added to my anxiety here. But as I said, even though I was nervous, I really enjoyed creating this. I really think that the paper helped me as well, because I wasn't worried at all about the ink feathering out or bleeding too much or kind of leaking off to the sides or anything like that. So since I wasn't worried, I was free to kind of just layer as much as I want until I was happy with it and not have to worry about the ink as much. And this was the point when I decided to stop working on the cup, or else I would have been working on it for all of eternity, and I had to get to the hot chocolate at some point. I was a bit worried, not about the hot chocolate, but about the whipped cream on top. I can't say I've ever drawn whipped cream before, so I wasn't sure how the texture would work, but the soft kind of shadow that you get when you use markers actually works really well for anything fluffy like whipped cream. So I think I would have done a worse job with this with colored pencils actually. My idea for the hot chocolate also was to use kind of that neutral shade of brown at first to create the foamy look, and then later I was going to go in with colored pencil and just create a bunch of little kind of like holes in the foam, like how it would look realistically. You'll see what I mean once I go in and add that colored pencil. But I wanted to get that foamy look. I didn't want to kind of just do a solid color because that wouldn't be realistic either, but you'll see when I do go in later to do that. But at this point I'm just working on the whipped cream, which was a little bit odd for me. All I did was kind of add where the shadowed areas would be, shadows from the chocolate chips and things like that, and then I kind of just went in with the chocolate chips and didn't do much else to the whipped cream after that. What do you guys think of my chocolate chips? I wasn't 100% on board with them. I thought that they were alright. I kind of copied the shapes I saw in my reference, but I didn't have too much experience with these. And how do you guys handle detail with markers? Because I know you can buy markers that have smaller tips as well besides just the brush tip. And does anybody actually use the chisel tip? And if you do, what do you use it for? Because I'm genuinely curious and I feel like I waste all my chisel tips on my markers. I don't know where to start with them. But anyways, you can see that now I'm going in just to add some details with a colored pencil. This is what I think made the drawing pop. So I'm going to let you guys watch this and then we'll talk about the end result. Okay, here we are, you guys. I think it's safe to call this one finished now. It's currently the next day, and I worked on it a little bit more, and I have to say, with markers, you really can't have a small set. I have used so many markers just to create this piece. And I think with markers you just have to use colors that are really close together because otherwise you just can't get a smooth blend. It's really difficult. But that all being said, I really like how this one turned out. It is so cozy. It just looks so delicious. I wish I could drink it. Now let's see how the paper held up with all of my intense layering. Okay, so we have some bleeding through, of course, in the areas where I really saturated the paper with ink. But I am honestly pretty impressed with this considering how many layers I put down. And it really held up well. And I would say that with all my blending that I did, it really helped to get rid of streaks. I didn't have an issue with streaks. It's extremely smooth. I didn't have an issue with leakage or anything. So really I would say that even though this isn't a paper review, like a technical paper review, I really did like using this paper for the first time, and I'm going to be using it in the future for any of my marker illustrations. So there you have it. I think that's all for today's video. If you guys enjoyed it, let me know. Also let me know what you thought of the drawing and how the paper works for you if you happen to own this paper as well, or what your favorite paper to use with markers is. Thank you guys so much for watching. I had fun experimenting with something slightly different in this video. So again, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye guys!